So just for those of you who haven't met me or haven't been to any of my workshops, I'm Dr. Sanchez. My pronouns are she and hers. Today we're going to be talking about setting goals. And so I'm going to start sharing my screen shortly, but again, I'm super excited to be here. It's early, it's Saturday, but we got this. Tomorrow's Super Bowl. Is anyone watching that? Is anyone excited? I'm a big super like football fan, but like I like the social part of it, but we can't even have that this year, so I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I missed it this year. I didn't even know it was happening tomorrow.
Tell you who's playing, but I think Tom Brady's playing. I don't know. Someone tell me. Okay, let me. I'm trying a new. I haven't used Canva to present before. I'm trying that today, and so I ask for your patience as I'm also navigating a new system in case I have any technical. Uh, Okay, if you all struggle with seeing anything, please just let me know. All right. So talking about setting goals and why goals are important. So just talk through a little bit about what to expect. We're going to start with a grounding activity to get us help us wake up today. We're going to talk more about what are goals, why are they important. Then I'm going to share a specific strategy for setting goals. At that point, I sent those worksheets and thank you so much for turning them into fillable PDFs so that can make it more accessible to the students. And then I'll go over some resources. Um, okay. So first we'll start with the grounding activity. And as we do this activity, I want to remind you all that the reason that this is so important is because people who write their goals are 10 times more likely to achieve them. So today, what you write down, you are 10 times more likely to achieve them than your peers or anyone you know who doesn't write these goals down, who doesn't begin to think about them, who doesn't begin to be intentional and manifest their goals, right? But for a grounding activity, what I was thinking could be helpful today, because it is a Saturday, it is a weekend, it is sometimes harder to like move around, is that we'll do some stretching. And I'm being mindful of the chat. Thank you so much. So what I want you to do is, I know that most of you have your cameras off, so I don't know where you're at right now, but if you're laying down on the bed, maybe sit up. Not gonna make assumptions here, but sit up and maybe start to stretch a little bit, move your neck a little bit, like roll your head, think of your shoulders, and just begin to kind of move your body. And so do this. We're gonna just do this for like about a minute because I want you to stretch. And so I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second because when I do this, I can't see anyone. So for those of you I can see on screen, putting you on the spot, I'd like for you to stretch out to help with the students. So make sure you're very visibly like stretching, waking up. And so it's super important. Um, when I talk about different grounding exercises, I'd like for you all to try them because these are the things that help you feel more grounded in the moment. So let's think of our toes. I don't know where you are, but like wiggle your toes, stretch out your feet. I won't put my toes on camera because I might be wearing fuzzy socks. Roll your roll your ankle around. Um, but really, if you're able to do that, stand up. Since I'm in my chair, I feel like all you'll see is my midriff, so I'll wait. But yeah, stretch out, stretch out. All right. So now that you've all stretched and hopefully moved your bodies around, uh, are you all feeling a little bit more awake? Ready for this goal setting? Ready to set yourself up for success? Thank you, Mark. So I don't feel super silly just doing it up here by myself. Thank you. Um, Ready for success. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the. All right. So remember, you are now 10 times more likely to achieve your goals than anyone who's not doing this. So you're already set up for success. So that's super big. So congratulations for starting your Saturday that way. So I want to just share one of my favorite quotes when I think about, goals, because we think about setting goals, it's also thinking about being intentional about hard work, right? So there's no magic to achievement. It's really about hard work, choices, and persistence, right? You don't magically get to this place where you want to be. You don't get to this perfect place or to your ideal self without hard work. And then when we talk about choices, there's going to be often, and I'm sure you've encountered it, right? There's often these really difficult choices you have to make about maybe something that sounds really fun in that moment, but maybe can take away from your ability to succeed in your future, right? So I always like to give an example. So let's say I always think about athletics because I think it's an easier example to give, but like let's say you really want to try out for some sports team, whether track team or whatever, and if you're trying to practice, but then you have a choice like your friends want to hang out and they want to have fun, but you're the is it trial to the next day, and you're like, no, I really need to work on, like I really wanted to practice a little bit, like making that choice to focus and make that decision to focus on your goal in that moment. Um, that's why having those goals set up prepares you for this. Like in that moment, you're saying like, I really want to hang out with my friends, but I can do that anytime. Like these goals that I have, this is something that I need to focus on now because the deadline's tomorrow, my tryout's tomorrow, right? So that's when the choice comes through, right? And that's when you have to be very persistent with it, even with yourself, because sometimes it's like, yeah, I want to go have fun. I would much rather do that, but this this will help me meet my long term or short term goal of being able to get into the track team. Can you tell that I was not a track team? Like I really should have given an example for something that I've done. So okay, all right. So what are goals? Now, according to Wikipedia, a goal is a desired result or possible outcome that a person envisions, plans, and commits to achieve, right? So, what does that mean? So, they start to think about what it looks like and then they take steps towards planning how to achieve that goal. I'm sure that many of you have moments where you've thought about, you think about actively, you know, what do I want to do? How am I going to spend my day? What do I want for my future? And it's not until you begin to think about, well, how do I take those steps, right? You're all part of this program. Being part of this program is helpful because I know that they help create, facilitate those steps for you and create like different opportunities. Something that I want to say about goals is that they can also help you, sorry, I wrote this down, can protect you from being pressured into doing something that you do not want to do, right? So I have a question for y'all. What would you think is easier? And please put your answer in the chat or you can talk, right? What is easier? Setting a goal that is important to you or waiting for someone to tell you what is important? So again, the question is, waiting, okay, waiting. And I'd love for those of you, if you feel comfortable, to expand, right? What is easier? Sometimes, yeah, it feels easier to set a goal. Sometimes it feels easier to wait, right? But which one of them is actually serving you? Which one of them is meant to actually help you feel on track to fulfillment for your passions? Yeah, setting a goal, setting a goal. So yeah, waiting for someone to tell you what is important is of course way easier in many ways, right? Like I want someone to tell me what's important, but then you're existing in life more passively. Oh, thank you. So I like love seeing how many people are responding. I am so happy. Uh, and so yeah. So today again, we're going to help you set up so you can set this goal because goals are important. They'll give you focus, they'll give you direction, and they'll help you identify your purpose, right? And identifying your purpose is something that helps you feel motivated to move forward, to move on to the next step. And today I'm so excited to learn more about what the next steps are for each and every one of you, because I know that you all have big dreams and I know that you all have these things that you're very passionate about. And I look forward to learning about what those are. And then I'm gonna bring this question to you all as well. Why else would goals be important? Like I talked about them giving you focus, direction, purpose, like helping you identify what's important to you. But why else would goals be important? How else can goals help you or setting your goals?
Can I speak out?
Yes, please.
Okay, so when you set goals, it kind of make a clear vision for what you want to do. It sets the path for you Because if you just keep, well, especially if you write it down, it's better to see it than just to keep it in your head. Because sometimes they may get pushed together and your visions may get blurry, and it's not a clear vision. That's what I'm just trying to say.
Thank you. Yeah. No, exactly. Exactly. You want to be intentional about what you're doing. You want to be intentional about how you spend your time. I don't know if you all are into vision boards and setting that up, but I know that I've been actively doing that with in my other roles. Because it's so important, especially at the beginning of the year, right? New years, new beginnings. They tend to be times where people try to be more intentional. Like how many of you all set New Year's resolutions, right? Let me see. I want to see the responses in the chat. So goal setting, goals help you with accountability. They help you be able to, hold on now, I'm like, help you accomplish something in a given amount of time, begin to take action. And you can set short-term goals to help you achieve long-term goals. And I'll tell you, I think you all know, like I was in school for 12 years to get my degree, right? Like I knew that I wanted to be a psychologist, but I had to set smaller goals to help me get there every single step, right? And so, and it gives a guidance path to follow for short and long-term objectives. And then, yeah, thank you. Yeah, doing the vision board. I'm glad. I think I saw your vision board once in the meeting, like in the background, but I could just be misremembering. But yes, thank you. These are excellent. I'm happy you all have been thinking about this. That makes me really happy. So you all started to mention this, right? That there are short-term goals and long-term goals. And I wanted to talk about the difference. But since some of you all mentioned them in the chat, right? How would you describe the differences between a short-term goal and a long-term goal? So like a short-term goal is a goal you can achieve in a short period of time, right? And a long-term goal requires more planning and would take a longer time to achieve. But how would you describe the difference between a short-term and a long-term goal? Yeah, thank you. That's an excellent example. A short-term goal could be finish that essay. And the long-term, get that degree. Yes. Yes, Jesse, excellent. Anyone else have other examples of what is the difference between a short-term and a long-term goal?
Can I say something about short-term goals and long-term goals?
Please.
I was thinking that I don't like setting too many long-term goals. I only have a couple, and I usually go by short-term goals instead, just because they help you keep stay concentrated and keep focused, and like keep you inspired, I guess. Because long-term, if you only have long-term goals, like you feel like you have it's so long till you get there, so it's like you get discouraged. So I feel like
Absolutely.
short-term goals are a little bit more. They keep kind of like a flame in you going to keep trying to strive for your goals.
Mhm. Exactly. Exactly. That's an excellent way of describing it. And they keep you on track and they help you stay motivated. They help you from being discouraged, right? Because those long-term goals, they take a long time, right? Think about how long you've been waiting to graduate high school, right? Or apply to college or do any of that. If that was your only goal and you don't have short-term goals within it, it gets much harder. But thank you, Bianca, for the chat. Finish a project for short-term, long-term, buy a house. Absolutely. That is still a long-term goal of mine, but we all get there eventually. Does anyone else have any examples they'd like to share?
Oh, I think Bianca shared one in the chat too.
Yeah, I just shared hers. To finish a project and buy a house. Short term, get married. Gonna go and get married. uh, is that lose weight, long term, keep it off? Yes. Yeah. Yes. So when you think of short term helps you begin to work on the goal, right? And long term is with maintenance of that, right? So really thinking about that. Thank you. Thank you all for being so All right, so let's talk about some challenges to goal setting. Some of you started to bring this up already, right? Like if it's too far from now, it's hard to stay on track for it, right? So some of the challenges that I'm highlighting for you is having too many goals, right? When we start to think like I want to do 1,000 things, then then it feels more saturated. So it doesn't. It's harder to identify what's more important to you. The next one is expecting quick results. Right? Most goals, they all take time, they all take effort, they take hard work, persistence, and it involves making a lot of very difficult choices. Yeah, like losing weight, hard work, exactly. And sometimes some of the challenges becoming discouraged by obstacles. So you have a goal for something, and we'll with Marcus, you mentioned, like the goal of like losing weight, right? And so maybe thinking about a certain like let's say you really enjoyed going to work out at the gym or working out with your friends and doing that, right? But now with the pandemic, the obstacle is that you have to be very careful about your social interactions and being mindful of that. And I know a lot of people who like really enjoyed working out at the gyms, don't feel comfortable doing that right now for those places that are open, for different reasons. And so now they're not able to do that. So now they have a different obstacle and they have to adapt and identify maybe new ways or new things to do that help, right? And so what are some other challenges that you can anticipate to setting a goal? What are some other things that might discourage you as you're working on a goal, as you're trying to be intentional about working on something?
I think a really big challenge that like a lot of us go through, but it's like more for like setting a goal after a goal. Like so, for example, I think people change throughout time, and sometimes their goals change like with them. And what happens is that as they grow, their goal changes, and then they find it difficult to change that goal. Like they think they need to keep going for that one goal they gave themselves, and they feel like if they're faking themselves or if they're lying to themselves because they want something else. So I feel like that's like a challenge to accept that your goal has changed and you have to like move a little towards that path instead of the original one.
Thank you. Absolutely. Sometimes, as you learn more about yourself, you recognize that maybe what you want is very different, but you've worked so hard to be on that path for that initial goal that it's hard to change it, right? So that's an excellent point. Thank you, Jesse.
Like
Um,
sometimes, excuse
mhm,
me, I feel
go
like
on.
sometimes it's easy to, sometimes you don't accomplish your goal. Like a personal example is that I had a goal to keep all A's throughout my high school journey as a college student because I take college classes too, and I wanted to keep all A's for my final GPA, but I got a B in one of my classes. So I feel like a lot of people would get discouraged, and at first I was kind of discouraged, but not really because I knew like there was a possibility, but you just have to keep fighting and keep going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that very personal example. Yeah, sometimes we set our goals really, really high, and sometimes we get there, but it's just a little off, right? And then we're discouraged, and it makes us feel that maybe we're not capable of fulfilling other goals. And you can't let that discourage you. You have to look at the bigger picture and saying, look at how much, again, hard work and persistence and all the different choices that I made to get me to this place. And and next time, or my next goal, what would I do differently to help me continue to do better? Um, and then Jennifer, I saw your comment. So like a challenge would be like your doubt, like, is this attainable for me? Is this something that I can complete? That's definitely a challenge to it, right? Because you're constantly what you're whispering to yourself, right? These thoughts that you have, they can become really strong. And if you're constantly feeling doubtful of your goals, then that becomes more discouraging to actively work on them. What about any other challenges? Naysayers, yes. So maybe you tell someone, this is my goal, and then people around you are not supportive of that, right? I don't think you can do that. Like, that's stupid. Like, why would you think of doing that or whatever? And then so you're having these external people start to discourage you. Mhm. Any other challenges? Okay. So let's talk about some strategies that are um, helpful with when you start to set the goals for how to set goals up. This is basically set you up for success. How to set goals that are more likely to be achievable. You're more likely to not experience these different challenges. I'm not saying that if you set these goals that you won't experience any challenges, but this is you're setting yourself up in a way that will um, prepare you to navigate these challenges when they do happen, right? So they're called SMART goals. So everyone says SMART, right? Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So these are some really good strategies to help you when you get started. So you want a goal that's specific, like what is this going to help me? So let's say for those like, sorry, losing weight is the one that's easiest for me to see on my chat. So like the losing weight. So if you know a specific goal, you can't just say, I want to lose weight. Maybe it's like, I want to lose 5 pounds, right? And then I want to lose, and then so you should know when you will have reached your goal for measurable. I want to lose, yeah, expect you to 2 pounds per week. I want to lose 5 pounds in 6 weeks or whatever. Achievable, right? Is this possible for me? Do I have the time to put this exercise? Do I have the access to manage my diet for that? Relevant, like how will this help me in the long run? Well, my goal is, I want to be healthier, and this is going to build healthier habits. And time bound, right? I said I want to do this over a specific amount of time. So when we think about maybe more academic goals, think about the different classes that you have this semester, and you can think about even one specific class, right? So sometimes I know that we've talked about experiencing some social anxiety in this group, and I think later this semester I do have a presentation on speaking more about that, right? But maybe you want to be an active participant in your classes, right? So maybe your goal is I want to speak up more in class. So then um, so then how you start to set the goal, you specifically, like, I'd like to speak up more, at least 2 times more per week in my class. And so I will know that I have met this goal if every single week I ask 2 questions throughout all of my classes. And that is how I'll achieve my goal. How is it relevant? It'll help me feel more comfortable with public speaking. It'll help me feel more comfortable with just being myself in these social situations. And time bound, if you're saying I'm doing it specifically to this class, right? And so this I guess would be an example of a short-term goal that can benefit you a lot in the long term as you're developing those skills. So now that we've talked about it, does anyone have any questions about this? Because right now I want to transition into setting those goals and talking about the different worksheets that I sent out. So does anyone have questions at this time about SMART goals, about setting goals, about short-term, long-term goals, anything that we talked about so far? So I provided 5 different worksheets to help us identify. It's more of to give you directions and identify categories or areas in your life to set goals in. And so now I'm a big fan of starting with a short-term goal. So when you're writing the goal, you can write it as a short-term goal, and if it helps motivate you, you can write next to it like, and this is going to be for a long-term goal. So there's 5 categories that I provided worksheets in that we're going to be doing today. So it's going to be a friendship goal, an education goal, a personal goal, a job or career goal, and a health goal, right? And so what we're going to do is, I think that it's been linked above for those of you who have access to that fillable PDF. If not, what I'll do is I'll share it on my screen so that you all have access to like the questions. I'm trying, maybe I'll try to figure out if I can share both so that you can still see the examples along with the worksheets. Um, and so I want you to really think about, again, SMART goal, be very specific. So with friendships, maybe your goal is to do more of friendships, like check in with certain of your friends more often, right? Maybe you found that you don't reach out to your friends as much and you just want to be intentional about, once a week, certain people I want to check in on more, right? An education goal, right? Like, I think Eddie, I think it was you who talked about wanting to get all A's in certain classes and doing that, right? And so really thinking about what are some education goals that I have for myself that they don't have to be super big, like I'm planning to go to college. It could be something smaller, like I mentioned, being more active participant in class. What are some personal goals that you have for yourself? What are some things about yourself that you'd like to work on, right? So maybe you're getting along better with a parent or becoming more independent, right? And really thinking about, okay, how do these work for me? How is that something I could do? If I want to become more independent, does that mean I start to be more mindful of my chores and doing them on my own without having to be asked to do them constantly, right? Um, a job or career goal. Like I know that many of you, I don't know where you're at in terms of if you have jobs or if you are working, but it's even thinking about, I'm really interested in learning more about this career for my future. And so my goal is to learn more about this. So like for me, I'm a psychologist. Oh, I've always wanted to be a psychologist. And that's like learning about like, what does a psychologist do? How do you become a psychologist? What do you do? That's part of the goal, right? Like identifying and learning more about the career that interests you. And then health, right? Um, and so one of these that I see often for health is to drink more water. Often people notice that they don't drink a lot of water and they're like, and that's a really simple goal to set for yourself. Uh, Before we go into the activity, does anyone have questions about any of these specific goals? Or yeah, we'll start there. All right, so what we're gonna do is that we're gonna take, because there are 5 goals, I wanna give you enough time. So I'm gonna block off a 10-minute time block. The expectation is that if you come back sooner than that, please write in the chat, so that, we can come back to discuss them. But I'm gonna give you 10 minutes because this is really important and I want you to really take time. You might not have enough time to fill out all 5 of the worksheets during that time, but you'll definitely at least get started with identifying the goals. And so let me share the So as you can see, this is the worksheet that I have for you all. Here's just the example. So you're going to identify the goal. So this is the friendship one, right? So maybe it's, reach out to my friends more to talk to them. And then I've broken up some steps for you to help you with really helping make these SMART goals, right? So what are steps that will help me achieve my goal? You know, maybe you're somebody who like is very forgetful. Maybe you need to have calendar reminders and alarms, like remember to check in on this. What are the strengths that help you achieve your goal? Maybe you're already a really organized person, so you have a planner, and so you're like, I'm gonna put this in my planner every week, and that's what's gonna help me. And the last one is, what are some skills that I need to improve in order to achieve this goal, right? So maybe you are a very organized person, you have all of these, but you have a tendency to write it all down and get prepared and have it ready, but then never look back at it, right? So a skill to help you improve is to be mindful of like, let's actually go look back at anything I prep. I don't know if you've done that before. I've definitely done that before where I'm like, I feel really ready. And then like a month goes by, I'm like, I forgot to look at that. So these are the prompts. And so I'm going to now minimize my screen so that I can have both screens show up for you all. I think we'll stay in as a big group because there's only the 26 of us in this chat or in the presentation today. And so I'll have both of them up and then I'll be here to help answer any specific questions. So feel free to chat me and I think I can probably make like an extra breakout room if you have other questions outside of the chat during this time. So again, before we go into this, now that I've seen the worksheet, are there any questions? How do we edit it? So they sent a link to make it a fillable PDF. Let me see if I can find the link above and repost it. Okay, so you should be able to click on the link to download to do that. If you, what I have found, so I try to make it so that the boxes are big enough so that if you wanted to also just be able to like edit it on your phone. Like you can always take a screenshot and like add text to it, or if you want to just like draw on it. I'm hoping that the boxes are big enough on mobile for those of you who are on there. Um, but you can either download it, do that. If you have a piece of paper next to you, as long as you're, because my goal today is to get you to write down your goals. So if you just want to follow the prompt, write it in your notes on your phone, take out a notepad, whatever it is, but I just want these to be written down in some way. So if you don't follow the form specifically, that's okay. It's just more about getting you set up. Any other questions? Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set a timer for the 10 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and share both of the screens so you can see the one with the prompt and then the one with these questions for those of you who don't have it. And I might also try to find my cat for you. There's about 3 minutes and 50 seconds left on the timer. Mhm. All right, everyone. So here the time. Oh, Louis, you can't. So just my cat has decided to make a quick appearance, aka I went and woke him up from his slumber, and so I had to give him treats to spoil him, because he's not wanting to stay. So I just wanted you to say hi, Louis, and then you'll get to go. Is that your hello? Okay, that's it. That was it. That was it. I hope you got to see him shortly, because he's like, I'm done. Okay, bye. Bye. That's cats for you. He's already big enough, so it's only so many treats for him. Okay, so let's come back and talk about the activity and how that is, how that was for everyone. Oh, does he mind his own business all the time? Yeah, cats are very, very independent. And so he is independent, but he is also cuddly. And he's a very sweet and loving cat. But very independent. But that was just your little emotional support animal for the moment. But let's come back and check in about your goals. I want to make sure we have enough time to talk about them. Um, and so, it's needing to have like, you know, then you might benefit from a Shih Tzu or one of those lap dogs. Those are really good and want to be sitting on your lap all the time. I I love when Louis cuddles for some time, but there's a moment where I'm like, okay, we both need space. All right. So yeah, let's check in with you. How was that activity? Does anyone feel comfortable sharing some of their goals or what the process was like for them?
I can share a friendship goal.
Thank you.
Oh, do I have to share all of them or just like one of them?
You could just share one of them.
Okay. My friendship goal is to keep my friends that I have right now, and the steps that will help me achieve it is just to communicate with them. Because like even during the pandemic, I did lose a lot of friends. Um, but I still kept the ones that I have right now because I've been friends with them since freshman year, and I'm incredibly close to them. And my strengths is that I like to go on Zoom with them, and we watch movies and stuff, and we just talk and we play games together. And skills that I need to improve is to stop being so self-conscious, because sometimes I feel like I talk to them a lot, and I try to, like, talk to them like a good amount, so they won't be like, oh no, I don't want to talk right now, or stuff like that.
I love that goal. That was a very well thought out goal. It's very well thought out. You're very insightful, and I'm really happy that you shared that with us. I'm really excited to see how your friendships continue to develop because of this goal. Thank you. Would anyone else like to share?
I could go. Okay, so I'm doing health goal, and I put for my health goal is cleaning my room more often because it helps myself more mentally. And steps that will help me setting, I said setting more times aside so like I'm less bothered by my room and more willing to do my work. Then my strength is, well, it's not really a strength, but it's like me unable to work in like a dirty environment, especially because it's my room. Skills that I need to improve. I put time setting because I always clean my room, but like sometimes I don't like how it's like unclean. It could be like the littlest things, like my carpet not being vacuumed, and I don't really want to work in that.
Yeah. Absolutely. I also really, I mean, I'm going to say this about every goal because I love when people set their goals and stuff, but I really like this one because you are, again, recognizing your needs and identifying your needs and finding ways to have your needs met. You're like, if I'm in a messy space, it's hard for me to work. It's hard for me to do things. So how do I start doing that? So setting the time to do that, absolutely. That is a wonderful skill to like improve, to set up for yourself. And always remember, like small steps at a time. You could always set, like, I'm gonna for 5 minutes, I'm gonna clean up today, and tomorrow another 5 minutes until like 5 minutes turns into an hour, and then you're done over a period of few days. So I'm excited for you. Before and after pictures? No, I'm just kidding. Um, what about anyone else? Anyone else want to share their goals?
I can share a personal one. First is to take time to relax because I don't really do it often. Some of my skills will be put down like my schoolwork. Sometimes I think I'm workaholic. I overwork some stuff. I feel like I always have to do something. And also put down my phone. One of my strengths is I don't really know the strength, but like I'm self-aware of what I'm doing. So I can be self-aware of taking time to relax. And one skill I need to improve on is time management because I don't make time for myself.
Yes. Yeah. So finding how to prioritize yourself um, as a high achieving, high performing person, right? That being idle is hard because what I've learned from people who I've worked with is that they feel bored, right? So I encourage you as you're trying to make time for yourself, if you are a high achieving or hyper, like you need to be busy, you're a person that just needs to be busy, is having a more active way to engage in making time for yourself. What about other others. I'd really love to hear more about your different goals. So far, we've had someone say a personal goal, we've had a friendship goal, we've had a health goal. Does anyone have maybe a career job goal or a the other one, education goal that they'd like to share? And if you feel more comfortable in the chat, you can definitely put it in the chat.
I have an educational goal.
Awesome. Yeah, let's hear it.
So I'm a procrastinator. Like I procrastinate about everything.
Mhm.
So my goal is like to like make a schedule to where like I know what time I can be able to like complete all of my work instead of waiting 2 hours before the assignment is due to start on it. Because that's what I do currently.
I love that. Oh yeah, trust me. You want to figure out how to do that before you get into college because it's so much harder when you don't have as much routine. Julia, do you feel comfortable speaking more on any of the other parts of the form for the education goal, like any more of your strengths or skills that you want to develop?
I'll say like my strengths are like even though I am a procrastinator, like I learn fast and like I really teach myself because it's hard to like comprehend when other people are teaching me. So like when I am doing my work, it's like I just gotta read and skim through it, and then like I know what I'm supposed to do. And then my weaknesses is like people always like try to ask me for help and stuff. So it's like because I'm doing it so late, I can't help people. So now it's like stressing me out because like dang, I gotta do my work and I gotta help somebody else, and it's like 2 hours left. So
Yeah. So finding that balance. It sounds like it's important to you to be a resource to your like to your friends and to people close to you. So if you had the time, then you would be able to. That's sort of like a double goal, right? When working on your time management, then you also have time to help others. It sounds like it's a value of yours. Um, anyone else want to share?
Oh, I can sorry. Oh, I can share for the friendship. So since I'm moving soon, I give myself a goal already. Not just like during this conversation, I had it beforehand, but I still wrote it down. It's to make friends from SoCal, well, from Southern California, and the step to do so is like joining groups and Instagram pages and that to get to know people. I feel my strengths are that I can usually make conversation with anybody, like because I'm a good listener to them, and I'm good about talking about like, anything really. Uh, skills I can improve is texting more frequently because I do find myself procrastinating to answering to people sometimes, maybe just to avoid the social anxiety of, oh, what do I say next? So that's a skill I can improve.
Awesome. I'm so exciting for a move, but also very stressful. So I commend you for being proactive and thinking about your needs as you going into a new place. All right. I don't know. Did anyone share a career or job goal? Does anyone feel comfortable with sharing that? Because I really would love it if we were able to touch on at least one of each of the goals for just so you all have examples.
I could. Oh, you could go.
Julia,
okay,
come on.
for my career goal, I really don't like. I have a goal, but at the same time, I don't have a goal because it's like because pepper sauce. Oh my goodness, be quiet. Because it's like many things I wanted to be. Because like first, I wanted to become an OBGYN, but you know, it's like too many people in my family wanted to become that. So I'd like wanted to be in law, but I also want to be in sports management. So like, yeah, I still haven't made a choice.
Yeah. So I think it sounds like a good goal for you would be to start doing more research into these different fields that you're interested in, right? And really identifying so that you can decide what path is the better or is the best one for you in this moment. And I know Jesse, you had mentioned you were willing to share. Would you still like to share your career or job goal?
Yeah, sure. I'm my goal is to get a summer job or maybe even a job before the summer, but it's basically a summer job. The step to do that was to, I mean, research. I already been doing it. Like what places give. I guess it's gonna be like a fast food place. The reason I'm doing so is just to get money for college, like for extra things that financial aid might not cover. My strengths, I think I'm pretty good at following directions. Like, yeah, I think out of the box, but like if somebody tells me what I need to do as an employee, I'm pretty good at finishing those things. And the skills I need to improve in order to achieve the goal, I guess it could be a little bit more of time management, because the only reason I'm thinking about doing it only in the summer and not during school, because I'm not sure if I could manage my time between like schoolwork and work hours, and also like my own health, which is I work out, so I'm not sure if I could like manage those three things all at the same time.
Yeah, perfect. That's a perfect goal. Um, so and again, good awareness. I think I'm always so impressed by how insightful you all are. So what I want to do now is just review just the slides of my final slide, just to remind you of some of the resources that you have for mental health resources and websites. I think you all get PDFs, or you have access to these slides, so that these are the same websites that I will share every time, but I will always share these because it's so important to me that you all have access to these. I'm a big believer in that sometimes you need to be told something multiple times and reminded of these resources. These are much more complicated to navigate than we know sometimes, right? And so really remembering, like these are all the different websites and the different phone numbers. We have these different text lines accessible, and you always have access to email me if anything comes up, if you have questions. I'm not as active on my Instagram because I've taken a step back from that, but I still check it periodically, but it's there. Um, and I'm mindful of time. I was so excited in sharing. So I think we only have like a minute or two, but if anyone has I guess, a question, probably just one, um, or we can end here.
I think my question, a really quick question, what are some tools that you could use? Something I know, like something tangible that students could use to keep track of goals, whether it be like, what is your favorite like tool, planners versus like a phone device? I know there's like so many apps now, like productivity apps. I've tried
Yeah.
them all.
Well, something that's really helpful is to always have is to have daily reminders of your goal. And so you have to think about what is something that you will look at daily to just have that reminder to check in. So think about in like at the least, and that level's basic, and like write down your goals, and like make it in a vision board, or put it as your lock screen, right? Put it as your background for your computer, or if you have access to it, print this out or write these out and put them on your wall, right? And so that's the most basic recommendation I have, because I think that's also the easiest to do. It's like you put it up and force yourself to just look at it every day to keep you on track. Now, I can't recommend anything specific in terms of planner. I myself have found that I prefer digital planners. So I am the person who will go and put reminders for myself in my calendar for everything. Because I'm like, I wanna remember this, and I know I'm gonna forget. So I will set a reminder, like remember to check this every so often. So that's a strategy that I find really helpful. Um, but I think it's tricky because everyone has different learning styles. So you have to identify what works for you. But the biggest one is like have it somewhere that's visible. Have it somewhere you can see it. So I'm always like, make it your lock screen. If that's the one thing you do, is remind yourself every day that you're working on, what is it, like your friendship goal, your education, whichever one it is, do that. And if you did the fillable PDF on your phone, even better. You can just take a screenshot and just set it. That's much easier. And also, Jennifer, you're so sweet. Thank you. I saw your comment. That's really um any other questions? I also am aware that it's a time you all have busy mornings. So thank you so much. I
Thank
look
you
forward to our next one.
Thank you so much for joining us. If we don't have any questions, students, last minute, any questions you want to ask Dr. Sanchez? Jesse gave you a little clapping emoji.
I know.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so much.
everyone.
Thank you. You have a great rest of your weekend, Dr. Sanchez. We will see you next month, I believe, or yes.
I remember. I know it's soon,
Yeah.
but soon. Bye,
We'll-
everyone. Take
board,
care.
So we'll send those to you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, Dr. Sanchez.